In today's video we are going to be doing a chit chat regarding this information kiosk, or actually we are going to be rebuilding this into the ultimate retro emulation but also gaming kiosk. Where this thing is powered by a normal PC, didn't have any sound implemented, this thing has a lot of potential. I picked it up a couple of months ago and I was really excited because I always wanted to make myself a touchscreen based arcade machine. But this time we're going to be doing, let's say, a completely rebuild and making this the ultimate retro emulation beast with a built-in keyboard, track and touch. This thing can actually do anything. So that's the reason I just put a lot of time and effort in this and even upgraded the PC so we can play everything that we ever wanted. So the machine is going to be booting up the GMK Tech mini PC, actually when I'm going to be plugging in the power itself. So then we're going to be having the screenshot of the Command & Conquer game, and it will automatically boot up into Big Box because I made a completely new image for this out of scratch because I just wanted to see what we can actually do. But there were a whole lot of problems I've noticed throughout this build, with absolutely nightmare. But let's do a quick overview what we can actually do. The first thing I implemented is a Bluetooth speaker on the bottom of the keyboard because this thing doesn't have any audio and it looks absolutely awesome. So what you can do is fairly easy, switch to volume and also switch to the different modes like the aux. There is a touch sensor over there, so mostly what I'm going to do is going to be doing that. So we can switch between Bluetooth and aux in. So when it comes to the monitor, it's a really old school monitor, 17 inches, but 17 inches of fun. So what is really convenient that this thing comes with a built-in keyboard, or at least attached to it, and giving us so much more gaming options. There are only a couple of problems when it comes to this. So not the QWERTY keyboard, because I know there's also an AZERTY keyboard, but when you're going to be looking, there are no F buttons. Because this is made for like an audience that cannot be changing anything inside of the software. And also we're having all kinds of wicked things, like having an happy and a sad face. Yeah, so the stuff that we're not going to be needing and not going to be using. So if I want to navigate through the software itself, at this point I'm going to be using over here the arrows, and we can fairly easy switch between the Launchbox or Big Box because we have over here the Pro version, and with the complete unlocked version we have all kinds of cool features and making playing games so much easier. So where this retro kiosk emulation beast can play everything, so the first thing I want to chit chat about is the touchscreen, because I think this is the main reason why I actually built this device. Getting into the touchscreen, I implemented all kinds of games, messing around with my collection on the internet to see what can we actually add to this. And of course one of the favorite games I love to play is Plants vs Zombies. Yep, we can just press enter and it will automatically boot up. And in here we're having all of the classic games like the Plants vs Zombies. The touchscreen is single point, so meaning that we can only touch one thing at the same time. But also we need to get used to it because you need to press a little bit harder than normal with your typical tablet. But it's absolutely awesome. You can see that it's very accurate. It seems to be working fine. See, this is one of the things I'm meaning, is that you need to press a little bit harder than normal. But this way we can just fairly easy play some old school games like Plants vs Zombie. And I think it's such a cool extra addition. But there are many cool games you can even implement, but also play on this. Kingdom Rush is another game I really wanted to have on this because it's such a cool tower defense game. Man, I've been playing it to death when it comes to playing it on Steam, so I implemented my Steam game to the machine itself. So when pressing enter, the unfortunate part is that we do have this message, but it's not a big problem because we do have a mouse itself that we can use, but also we can use the touchscreen. So I'm just going to be leaving a 1024 by 7060A. What we can do is, if you want to have like high resolutions, I think 1280 by 720 is the maximum. But you need to be careful with this monitor because sometimes it can get a little bit freaky and kind of weird. But in overall, it seems to be working just fine. Here you can see we can choose the game. We can just fairly easy go into the mode if you want to. Then the only thing I did notice sometimes with, let's say, trying to get this thing to work and different kind of, let's say, resolutions, the monitor can be going all crazy when it comes to that. However, the overall touch, it's not the best, but it's kind of cool to play these games like they're supposed to be. Of course, we can use the arrow if you want to use the trackball, it's all possible. But in this case, we're just going to be using the touch itself. And again, I need to get used to the touch big time. Well, let's go. I have no idea how to move those guys. Oh, there was. I'm just moving the wrong character. Another game I just needed to have on my touchscreen machine is Zuma Deluxe. Let me know in the comments if you ever played it from the PopCap games. This is absolutely classic. So you can play it with mouse if you want to, with the trackball if you want. It's no problem whatsoever. But the reason I want to play is very simple. Is that because this is such an convenience. You can actually play very fast. These games have been ported to so many different other machines. But still, this is for me the ultimate classic. And this is so much fun. You know, and these games are so much fun because everybody can play them if you're a gamer or a non-gamer. So if you're going to be building a machine like this, you're going to be putting it in your, let's say, arcade cave. There is always a game for anyone. And the touch is just a very cool addition. Like I mentioned before, you can also use the trackball if you want to. But still, it's going to be slightly more difficult and you're not that fast because now you can just press and clear the stage fairly easy. Hinkazuma! Another classic one is Bejeweled Deluxe. I've been putting all of the games from the collection on here. The only weird thing I have is this moment that I cannot save my position or my save file, so I need to check that out later on what's going on with this. But Endless, one of those many cool ways to play. Don't show this again, please. Go. So one of those many cool games, but again, I've been testing out all kinds of different arcade machines and did notice this game before. However, the touchscreen itself works quite good, but I already mentioned throughout the video, I need to get used to it big time. Next up, we're going to be chit-chatting about the trackball. I think it's a very tiny, cute trackball with a lot of resistance. Maybe that isn't a problem for some of you. However, this thing is tiny and it's very responsive. However, we also have the two buttons for the mouse, or at least all three of them, so we can map them to, let's say, if you want to play a shooter. And that is one of the many things we can play, and I've been looking into what can we do with it. In the next part, we're going to be looking into the trackball mode. I know with the trackball we can actually do more than only what I'm going to be showing over here. But I just wanted to showcase a couple of things I've been adding. And this is just like an ongoing process of many different systems I want to add. And in particular when it comes to games and emulators. So we have Peggle, Astropop Deluxe, and I was even trying to play some Diablo 2 with the trackball. I can tell you, it's not always like the best overall configuration. I rather had like a normal mouse, the GZ Doom. And yeah, I think it's very cool to have all kinds of options. And of course, Zuma Deluxe, because I've already shown you, I can actually also play that with the trackball, besides having the touch. So, but first off, let's start off with some Peggle Deluxe, because this is such a fun and different experience. Because normally we're going to be playing that with a mouse and keyboard, but now we're going to be doing it slightly different. Okay, Peggle, why is it so different? So let's choose a character. I'm choosing the unicorn. We can use the touch if you want to, but this is just a cool thing about this. If you're going to be using the trackball, it's going to be so much more fun because you can be having a more direct overall experience. And of course, depending on the sensitivity of the mouse itself, but this is such a cool way to play. And it makes the trackball just a fun extra addition. Oh man, Peggle is so addictive. And even people around me who don't like even playing games, they love Peggle, and particularly when it comes to the trackball. The left mouse button is directly on top over there, so we can just fairly easy shoot the balls. We still do have a mouse cursor. We can hide it if you want to at the bottom part. But beside that, I had a lot of fun playing the old school Peggle. You know, the most basic games are sometimes even the most fun. I still wanted to showcase actually when it comes to the Diablo game. We can use the touch, which you can just see over there. We can just play the game. But of course, navigating is going to be absolutely impossible. So we're going to be needing the trackball and the mouse. So this is another cool way to play. Not the best experience if you ask me, but you know, you can do many different ways of playing Diablo this way. Going to be navigating with the trackball. and just moving forward like that. And that is possible to actually play now. We can also shoot with the mouse clicks over there, but this is one of the downsides to this machine. The freaking prehistoric keyboard inside of it was never actually made for playing these games. I found this game called Golf with Friends, or actually it's going to be golfing with myself. But this is another cool game. We can just shoot the ball. We're having the accuracy of the trackball, making this game a lot of fun. I put the sensitivity on a very high overall, let's say, configuration, because otherwise it was not accurate enough. But I think it's a lot of fun, you know, playing this game by myself. Stop rolling. Okay, let's see if I can finish this game. 2. Yeah, ha ha! So when it comes to Marble Up, this is another cool game. However, it is a little bit tricky because we do have this input problem. So we can use the mouse or trackball and the keyboard at the same time. But it's going to be tricky simply because we're going to be needing to actually using the keyboard. But it's kind of cool. We can use the trackball and the keyboard at the same time. Oh, messed it up, no! But let's move on to the Windows gaming itself. And this machine can actually play everything. Let me explain what I did and what I changed out. However, when I was making my image, I just wanted to add all kinds of wicked stuff. Yeah, we do have Angry Birds, but that's more for the touch. The Windows is actually everything, like touch, trackball, you name it. But we have all kinds of cool games like Broforce, we have games like Brutal Doom 64, and yes, we have the Crash Bandicoot and Insane Trilogy, and there is actually all kinds of cool stuff like Dead or Alive 6, and many newer games. And that has simply to do because I also upgraded the PC itself. So let's get a deep dive into that and show you what I actually did and improve with this machine. They were using a very old PC in the inside, more like a dual core. It's more than enough if you want to play games like Peggle Deluxe. However, I went, like say, all the way for upgrading to a mini PC. And that's what I actually did, or I did not really use this particular model. This is a B-Link 6th generation AMD Ryzen. I even went something of a JMK Tech, having a 7th generation, giving me the option to actually play all kinds of games. That brings us to the back of the machine, because we can actually remove this. Here was like clunky PC in the inside. So what are we getting? We're having a very tiny PC with a crazy lot of power. Over here we're having the power wall strip that have everything implemented. So this is one of the power supply of the monitor. The power supply is over here from the mini PC, and I've put the JMK Tech in there. So this is in 7th generation. Here you can see it's 7th generation, an AMD Ryzen 9 model. So that's absolutely crazy with a very powerful onboard GPU, making this thing really interesting for playing modern games. So I'm trying to do a little bit of a cable, let's say, less nightmare management, and you just put it in there using the original system to put this thing in its position, but I can remove it if I want to. And if you do initial maintenance or cleaning the mini PC, you can fairly easily remove this part over here. And here you can see all of the internal parts. At this point I'm having a 1 TB drive, but I want to upgrade to 2 TB NVMe and having 60 GB of DDR, and it's just more than enough for what I'm going to be doing. However, this is what we're finding in the inside. I tried to do it nice as possible, upgrading it. And what this weird thing maybe is, if you're wondering, this is an HDMI to VGA connection, because yep, it's an old school VGA monitor inside of this tower of power, I can say. Another upgrade I've made is putting in soundbar underneath, because there is no audio inside of this machine. This is just an old school Battletron, and yeah, this thing is absolutely amazing, sounds great. I wish I went to have a subwoofer, but it makes everything so much more complex to put it nicely into the machine, because we do have limited space. And it also has a Bluetooth connection, so we can use it just like a Bluetooth speaker. And we can also use controller on this kiosk, and the reason why, because playing games with the keyboard is out of the question, that I've already shown you before. But how do we connect them? So at the side I've managed to squeeze in a USB hub, having 3 ports at the bottom and 1 at the front, making it super convenient. So we have the 4-player configuration if you want to play games from the N64 or other system that utilize 4-player configurations. But also navigation is going to be so much more easier if you're going to be plugging in the controller. And of course we have a a crazy amount of different games that we can play. Games like Hunt Down, man, I love this indie game. And that's one of the other reasons I want to build this. So yeah, I can use this for only like touchscreen games or some trackball games. But why not make this thing the machine that can do everything? Where we have like all kinds of different input methods and having all kinds of different kind of games we can play. And I implemented a lot of stuff from my library and from the Steam. So this is super convenient and we can also play it offline. But let's start off with one of my favorite games to play is Blaze Rush. And the reason is very simple. This game is absolutely a very cool party game. We can actually play it with 4 players, so hooking up 4 controllers, we can fairly easy play these games without no problem whatsoever. And so there are many other games that we can actually play. Oh crap! I was not looking at the screen. Having such a powerful machine inside of this is just freaking awesome. However, you do play this on low resolution, so we can crank up the graphics compared when I'm playing this on full HD. And for me, it looks kind of good. Like when you're like looking at this monitor, the viewing angle is not like an IPS screen nowadays, but the overall quality of the image is just perfect when it comes to the colors and everything. And now with this lower resolution and can crank up a lot of games, we do have all kinds of cool adventure games. So when you're building a kiosk like this, you're putting it in your living room, you can just play everything on this. Just play alone, with friends and everything else. So moving on to some Dead Alive 6. This is a game that is really demanding, but also a great example for this monitor. You can just see we have 2 massive, or at least it's too difficult to see because of the screen recording, but it has like a massive, let's say, black bar on top and at the bottom. And the simple due of the resolutions, this monitor cannot get the perfect resolution, but it doesn't matter, it doesn't spoil the fun. We can enjoy yourself, even like newer generation fighting games. I'm not even afraid to put in Street Fighter 6 or even a newer Tekken 8 on here. That doesn't matter, you know. I'm just smashing buttons, you know. And of course we're going to be trying some Hunt Down. And this makes this machine absolutely great. We can just enjoy yourself these old school or brand new games.
Access granted. Leave me alone, buddy. Jump down.
But with great power, we also have the option to do some emulation. And with such a powerful machine now inside, we can play some Sega Genesis, but we can also play Sega Dreamcast, GameCube, and go all the way when it comes to emulation. Combining this with controllers, we have a lot of games you can play. But let's start off with some basic emulation with the Game Boy Classic. Yeah. So this is actually awesome because the screen we're using is a beautiful display with the perfect resolution. And I think this is just a very cool way to actually enjoy myself the old school games. And if I want to go back to the main menu, I just need to press the escape button twice to go back to the main menu. So that is one of the convenient parts if you're going to be using a keyboard. And this way we can easily go back, choose a different game, but also a different kind of platform. But let's go to the Game Boy Advance, because now we do have a little bit of a thing going on when it comes to playing Game Boy. The Advance is of course in different resolution. So where we had black bars on the left and the right part, now we do have them at the bottom and at the top. But emulation of course is no problem for a mini PC like this. We can though play this on a freaking tomato, but it's kind of cool to have a couple of these games on the emulation kiosk. But let's move into the Sega era with the Sega CD. And implementing the games I normally always like to play on my Sega CD and the CRT, there's a lot of fun to play on this, let's say, tiny kiosk. With the simple reason, because the resolution of the screen is fitting perfectly for these games. And I can personally really enjoy it. Another thing is like using Launchbox for adding all kinds of emulators. It's super easy to do. Also, if you're going to be implementing extra files that are sometimes needed for some emulators, they are super easy to all set up. And I think this is one of the enjoyable part of making this. And it's just fun to revisit. So seriously, just revisit the old school games. Next up, some Sega Dreamcast emulation. We can do a little bit of upscaling if you actually want to do it. I didn't do that simply because it looks absolutely amazing. We're not using a massive screen, so we're not going to be actually needing it, or that is my opinion about it. But out of the box, this mini AMD Ryzen can run Sega Dreamcast without no issues, even with 4K rendering resolution that we're not going to be using now. But beside that, it's absolutely a lot of fun. And this is what I love about adding a very powerful mini PC to your gaming kiosk or bar, whatever you want to use it, because now we can actually play all of these games without any problem, and there were no limitations there. With PlayStation 1 I did use kind of an upscaling, and the reason why, because the original looked kind of pixelated, and with the upscaling option it looks so much better. However, I'm not using DockStation at this point, and I think I'm going to be changing this out. So one of those things I need to do later on is just doing tweaking. But out of the box, the emulation perfect, and I did see some minor glitches over there, especially with starting the game. Everything has been set up, so I needed to set up the emulator also when it comes to other files and the controllers. So I've been configuring them to DualShock controllers at this point. But you can see that no problem here, and this is one of the cool things all over the AMD Ryzen. You have all kinds of cool stuff that we can do with it. However, if you're going to be using a very cheap or old PC, you can able to even play some emulation, but we're just missing out the overall upscaling option with this. Oh yeah! Woo! Man, I love this game. So much fun. Even as a ripoff from Mario Kart, I just love this freaking game. Another system I wanted to add to my kiosk is just this PlayStation 2. Because PlayStation 2 has such an amazing library and so many cool games. And of course here we have no problem. We can do upscaling if we want to, but it looks absolutely great. But if you want to get into PlayStation 2 emulation, I do still have a little bit of screen tearing that we're going to be needing to fix. And I think this is one of the many things that we need to fixing in the future. Besides that, you know, when it comes to the emulation performance on an AMD Ryzen, it's just great. And I think if you want to get into emulation, do a little bit of upscaling, just get yourself a powerful AMD Ryzen. It can be the 5000, but personally I'm the biggest fan of the 6000, because from that point it was getting really a lot of power, and we can also have the possibility to actually play some Windows games. PlayStation Portable is another system I just love to play, and that's the reason I added my favorite games. And also the reason why I went for a different approach when it comes to emulation. Yes, we can add like hundreds of different games, but it makes no sense whatsoever when it comes to, let's say, the PlayStation Portable. It's just fun to add my favorite games, and everything out of the box seems to be running fine with the PP emulator. We can also do crazy upscaling if you want to, because the AMD Ryzen has no limit to that when you ask me. So where the difference is with the emulation of the PlayStation Portable, we can use the escape, getting into the special menu or the menu of the emulator, and in here we can do a lot of tweaking. We can even implement frame skip, not going to be needing that of course. You can see that the rendering resolution has been set to 10 times, so the maximum, everything has been put on his maximum settings. Maybe there are a couple of things I missed out. However, that is what I love about this. So we can have like great overall performance on this mini PC and the retro gaming kiosk. But how about N64? No problem there. That is one thing to be sure, because when you're going to be playing some cruise in the USA, this has no problem whatsoever. And I think this is one of the cool things to add to the gaming kiosk, because N64 has so many cool games, It's not the best system out there, but think about some 4-player games. If you want to play Decon Racing, if it's going to be really convenient for 4 players split screen, that's a different story. But I think it's a lot of fun to play together. You can plug in the controllers. The emulator works through the RetroArch, so it's going to be a collection of emulators. And what I love about that part is automatically it will add to the Launchbox and automatically set up every controller. Super convenient. Everybody can build their N64 image through Big Box or Launchbox itself. And emulation with an AMD Ryzen like this is just perfect. So there are many different devices that we can play. And I didn't even implement everything. The PlayStation 3 emulation can be even done with this. But for me, this collection was more like a collection of my favorite games. Same with Windows. I just want to implement the games so everybody can just enjoy. Having a Microsoft Solitaire collection, but also having this cool marble lit up for playing some games through Windows. Still, I'm like messing with this. I will add new games to it, like Horizon Chase Turbo has just been added, and many other ones. If you want to play a game like Hades, you name it, it can all be played thanks to this mini PC. And in combination with emulation, having a touchscreen and trackball, we can just play it all. So this is my project and it's still not finished, where a lot of stuff will work now. So I love the touchscreen controls, but also when it comes to playing emulation and playing some games together with friends, we can use the keyboard with a certain limitation of the 1 input per key. It's quite annoying, but it is what it is. And then having over here the trackball for all kinds of cool games. And we're going to be utilizing it with emulation later on to have like other cool games like bowling games. However, this is in Kiosk with a lot of potential. Let me know in the comments what do you think of a project like this. Would you consider having this or building it? Thank you all for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and it will be great to see you in the next video.